I was 6 months old when I was brought to the United States in the arms of a stranger, only comforted by a rag doll tucked into the bundle of blankets that I was. Being so young, I was unaware of this journey nearly costing my mother her life, that it was not her cradling me in that stuffy bus. She was crossing the river, pregnant with my twin sisters. I was unaware of how she was willing to sacrifice her life for my American upbringing. I'll never be able to thank her enough for her determination of having a better future for her children, for me. Had anything had happened to her, I would only be able to remember her by that doll that joined me on the journey, with a frayed bonnet. Today, I'm happy being able to come home to both my mom and that doll as it sits on my bed. But this journey has brought more than just tangible gifts and remembering by. It's brought some struggles. And one great struggle is that I sort of deal with this hybrid of an identity. I'm Mexican-born, American-raised. The connections to my native culture are nurtured only at home, while my American demeanor takes over in school or most social settings. This internal conflict about cultural identity is common in undocumented individuals that arrived to the United States when they were young, a certain group of them known as dreamers. So, had I been given the choice to name them dreamers, I might have gone a little bolder. I might have named them, I don't know, the Butterfly Warriors or the Dream Defenders. But, I'm not one to complain. The dreamers gives us a sort of vibe that I can only describe with an ethnic foi. Because you don't know what to expect of them. Dreams are limitless. Dreamers are potential beneficiaries of the DREAM Act, which was a program that would allow undocumented individuals, younger undocumented individuals, to get a chance at a pathway to citizenship, along with benefits with education and vocation, getting jobs, which commonly undocumented individuals are not allowed. These individuals, beyond the paper, beyond the descriptions in legislation of who they are undocumented, but they majorly identify with the American lifestyle they've been raised in. Many can't even recall their nation of origin, having been brought as children or infants. Some can't even speak the language of the country stamped onto any identification they managed to receive in the United States. So how would you differ a dreamer from anyone else? How are you different from a dreamer? Legally, there's endless pathways, endless opportunities that don't go up the same path. But simply speaking, in terms of life, you're not any different. You're both people, capable of emotion, capable of measuring risks, and having dreams to pursue. You both can take the advantage of the opportunities available to you, particularly in the United States, where they have immigrated to. It's just that these risks that they've taken go beyond a click of a button for assistance in financial aid or something. It crosses borders. They've made journeys, whether it is from crossing rivers or boarding ships. The risks they've taken are major. So why? If these people share our hopes and dreams, share our struggles, share our hopes for the future that we all want, why are they being judged the way they are in media? Why are they cast aside for wanting what we want, what anyone would want? Anyone would wish a better life. Why are they judged for that? Why are countless experiences coming up in media on recorded phones of the discrimination they experience in the communities they've always considered home? There comes the clouded argument of, why couldn't they have come here legally? And there's a lot of misconceptions on how easy that is, because in reality it's not. While there are pathways for immigrating legally, a lot of these systems aren't balanced. They're not fair. For example, we have the lottery system, where certain countries are allowed more visas to their citizens to emigrate into the United States. Money. The money is a big problem, because when asking why couldn't they have come here legally, a lot of the incentives for them wanting to leave is for a socioeconomic opportunity, for a chance essentially at having money, having something to fall back on as they journey for greatness, whether that is through a college degree, a stable career. As they come, it's difficult. In search of that, they might not have money to begin with. The decision also might not have come with a lot of thinking. It might be spontaneous. So think back to how dreamers differ from you. They don't. They're still people. They have experiences. They have those struggles. They can have tragedies. They can have miracles. And some of them mean that they might make the decision the next day that they want to come to the United States for a better life. But you can't see that on paper. Even then, they're risking their lives. They're taking the risk in search of these opportunities that they see, particularly in the United States. Those risks include their lives, their children's lives. As many of these dreamers that are young, that have been brought as infants, we're not willingly brought to the United States. And for example, with my mom, when asked, how couldn't you have come here legally? Why couldn't you have saved yourself the trouble? In where we lived in Mexico, we struggled greatly to make a living. And as beautiful as this beach town we lived in was, it would not harbor the future that my mom wanted for me. She knew that maybe living any longer there would deprive me of any success I would have in the future, I could potentially have in the future. So she made a decision, heavily pregnant, to come to the United States, risking it all, risking how accustomed she grew to her life in southern Mexico, knowing that her daughter deserved more. So why should you care? Why should you care that my mother made this decision, that countless individuals have also made this decision? It's because these dreamers, particularly under a program called DACA, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, the only actual legislation it passed to help undocumented immigrants, they are 800,000 strong. They hail from more countries and more walks of life than assumed of the stereotype of an immigrant, just brown-skinned, speaking in broken English, taking low-paying jobs. These immigrants come from, apart from Latin American countries, they come from South Korea, Vietnam, the coast of Africa. They're young parents and students. They don't fit the stereotype. You cannot hear their nationality in their voices, as you can in mine. They've been making waves today in media through popular major interest groups have been sort of initializing programs and movements and hashtags like undocugrads. The successes they made despite taking all those risks have been shown in the pride that they show for either their parents, themselves, the risks they've taken. Even though there is a great effort from major interest groups of undocumented individuals to present themselves beginning with their stories and not their legal identities. They're perceived only by statistics, only by that stereotype. These dreamers shouldn't be perceived that way because they're human. Again, they struggle, they hope the same way anyone would. It's important to understand why they're dreamers, why they've chosen to be dreamers, why their children are dreamers. So maybe you've never heard of the DREAM Act before today, or the dreamers. Maybe you have. But what's important to remember is that today you've met one. You've heard the story of one dreamer who can't thank her mother enough for all the sacrifices she made, for her risking her life for my well-being, for doing all she could and succeeding to let me stand here today and tell you why I'm thankful and what I've done with the opportunity she's been opened the door for me for. So again, today you've met a dreamer, whether you like it or not. And now I'm encouraging you to continue that. You can go out and engage with community, engage with this movement, hear another dreamer story. Change your perspective on dreamers beyond the statistics. Listen to their stories, because they deserve to be, acknowledged not by numbers, but by the incentives they've been given, the incentives to why they're dreamers. There's 800,000 of us out there, and millions of other undocumented individuals with their own stories to be heard. Being seen as people, rather than numbers, would be a step forward in being accepted as what and who these dreamers are by nature: American. Thank you.